Let's turn our attention to the nominee process. There's a lot going on this week. There'll be more next week as well. You've been supportive of most of the Trump team, if not all of the Trump team picks. I know you've met with a lot of them individually. People have criticized some of the Trump picks in that there are a lot of billionaires that are on his cabinet selection team, that Mitch McConnell's wife is there, that there's a confluence of former Wall Street and Goldman Sachs executives. Do you think that the Trump cabinet is reflective of the diversity of America?
Well, as Donald Trump said himself when criticized for having a couple of these billionaires, that he didn't want to find people who had failed in business. He wanted to find people who had succeeded in business and allow them to apply their skills and experiences on behalf of the American people. The one consistent thing you see in these nominees, whether it's former generals or successful business people or state officials, is they don't have a lot of history in Washington, D.C. Now, there are some exceptions to that, like Elaine Chao, who herself has been a cabinet secretary and a deputy secretary at transportation, where she's nominated to be the secretary. But by and large, these are officials from outside Washington. And I think that's part of what Donald Trump meant when he said he wanted to drain the swamp. He wanted to bring in new blood and fresh thinking to apply a fresh set of eyes to the problems that in Washington too often are just accepted as the status quo.
You wrote on your Facebook page, I think it was on Tuesday, Senator Cory Booker conducted a, quote, disgraceful breach of custom in the Senate in testifying against Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General nominee. It seems to me this was a little bit of a publicity stunt, but there are a lot of politicians, including yourself, who have pulled some publicity stunts over the years. This seems like that was a little bit of a harsh criticism of Senator Booker there.
Roby, I'm very disappointed in Senator Booker. He's better than this, and he knows better than this. As far as I know, no senator has ever testified against another senator's nomination, and Senator Booker is not going to add anything that any other witness could. I understand that Senator Booker disagrees with Senator Sessions and I on keeping felons in prison and enforcing our drug laws and enforcing our immigration laws. That's fine. That's why we have United States Congress to have those debates, and Senator Booker can vote against Senator Sessions if he wants. But to take this extraordinary step of testifying against Senator Sessions when he adds nothing that no other witness could, I think is just an example of how the Democrats continue to break with custom and protocol because they simply can't get over the fact that they lost this election. I mean, it's time for all these Democrats to look themselves in the mirror and ask why they lost. And it wasn't because of Vladimir Putin or Jim Comey or fake news or the Electoral College. They lost because Hillary Clinton ran a bad campaign and Barack Obama's policies were unpopular. And they need to focus on that, and they need to try to work with us within the consistent courtesies, customs, traditions of the Congress to solve the problems that we all want to solve for the American people.
Well, I'll end it there on that particular subject matter, but I've seen a lot of breaking custom from a lot of politicians in the last year, so this one does not surprise me too much. Let's talk about health care. You said earlier this week that you think when the Congress repeals Obamacare, there needs to be a solution in place moving forward. So what happens if there's just a repeal and delay measure that's put forward? Will you vote for that, or are you going to oppose that and wait for something substantive to be put in its place?
No, Roby, I'll vote to repeal Obamacare. And we may not be able to vote on every part of a replacement for Obamacare on the same day or the same week, but it does need to happen in relatively short order. What we should not do is wait until 2018 or 2019 to try to reach a solution. Healthcare is a very complicated problem. It's been made worse by Obamacare. We're not going to find the answer any easier a year or 2 years from now. Now, what may happen is if we repeal Obamacare and we pass replacement legislation in the coming months, is that there could be a phase-in period over a period of years so we don't create massive disruptions in our health insurance markets like Obamacare did, because you have to account for things like open season enrollment, which most Arkansans just went through, that doesn't happen until the fall for most plans. You have to account for changes in laws that are going to be pretty sweeping changes, like, say, allowing insurance companies to sell their plans across state lines for the first time. So there may be a phase-in of the implementation dates of replacement legislation, but we need to coalesce around a solution sooner rather than later.
Got about 60 seconds left here. Do you want to see pre-existing conditions not being a factor in health insurance? Do you want to see that provision remain from the current Affordable Care Act? And what about mental health? That is something else that the Affordable Care Act really brought some attention to and some focus on.
Well, I think pre-existing condition is a problem. It's not a solution. The Obamacare legislation tried to address it in one particular solution, which has failed. That's imposing mandates on people to buy insurance, the substance of which was dictated by bureaucrats in Washington. I want to see pre-existing conditions covered. I think there's easy ways to do that by, say, allowing tax deductions or credits for people to get insurance if they don't get it through their employer, by requiring people to continue insurance if someone's already on insurance. That's creating the right kind of incentives for people to get health insurance and stay on health insurance while making it affordable too. Then you don't have to have mandates and penalties. As far as mental health goes, I think there is a growing and widespread recognition in our society that wasn't the case when I was a kid, Roby, or when you were a kid, that mental health is on parity with physical health, and that we have to provide good coverage and good care for people with mental health problems, and that things that used to be considered just problems that you're supposed to get over are now recognized for what they are, which is genuine medical issues that need to be treated and can be treated.